Right now, we're joined by Michel Rochette. Michel Rochette is the Quebec president of the Retail Council of Canada. Good afternoon, Monsieur Rochette.
Hey, hi, Tom.
Comment ça va aujourd'hui?
Sign yourself.
Very well, thank you. Now, we're talking about the recent revelation that the OQLF will be sending out undercover agents into retail establishments to make sure that people are being served in the language that they should be served in, ideally French, according to the OQLF, and that they will be greeted in French when they walk into the store. Are you expecting this to have any sort of repercussions in the retail industry?
Yeah, maybe, because what we know is that since 3 years now, we have to deal with new regulations. A new bill was adopted, as you know, Bill 96, and some rules were unveiled less than a year ago. And the problem with those new rules, aside the service that we offer to customers, is also, about signage, about packaging and all this. So some of the new rules are way more complex than many people realize. And the challenge now is not to comply, but demonstrating beyond any doubt that everything has been respected. And that's the real challenge for many, many retailers.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm concerned, a retailer who owns an establishment, his or her main concern is the fact that their potential customer is getting the service that they want and is getting the product that they want at a fair price. And to that end, when they walk into the store, if you greet them in French and they switch to English, doesn't it just make retail sense to switch to the language of the customer?
Absolutely. And what the OQLF demonstrated by the past is when you enter a store and you want to be served in French, I think it's 97% of the time when you, even if you have an answer in English, if you answer back in French, 97% of the time you can be served in French. So that's not the issue. The problem is, how do you answer people when you know the customer, that you know that sometimes they speak English or other languages? Well, it's complicated in Quebec. So, the reality is you have to show that, you answer to people in French first, and if they switch to English, you can talk to them in English. But the problem is always the introduction. How do you speak to someone who just entered the store? But again, the real issue is not that, because again, 97% of the time, people can have a French discussion in any kind of stores. So, we shouldn't be that worried. Protecting French is always a challenge in Quebec, obviously, and we don't contest that. But again, the challenge is not there. See, there are so many obligations now that the retailers have to comply with regarding French language. That serving people. When we look at the numbers, this is not what is supposed to be the problem.
And what do you think about the timing of all this, Michel? We have an election coming up in the fall. Do you think perhaps the CAQ is maybe grasping at straws here in order to have a better showing in the upcoming election?
It's delicate to answer that, because the last time someone said that, the question about language in Quebec was politicized, he was, lectured. So we cannot say that. So, But again, we all want to protect French, obviously, because it's very, very important, and we have to do it in many ways and under many circumstances. I understand that. But again, if the goal is to strengthen French, helping businesses to succeed will always work better than punishing them. So we hope that the government will keep a collaborative approach, because there's so many burden and so many pressure over retailers' shoulders that helping them would be always better than just adding and adding and adding, because because it's a special year this year. So, you're right.
Now, you talk about the government being perhaps more collaborative. What do you think? What do you think retailers should expect? When is this all going to start, first of all, and what do you think they should be expecting once it does start?
Well, it never really stopped.
Okay.
it's not new to having people, entering stores and being somehow related to the government and to seek. And not only civil servants, but I mean, some organizations are, dedicated to protect French, so they sometimes send people somewhere to test and to take some pictures of some products or just to test, the service that they received in stores. And the OQLF, even if they don't send people, they have to deal with any kind of complaints that they received. So it's not new. So it's always been a challenge for any stores in the greater area of Montreal to be sure that they comply with the obligations, formulated by the government. So it's not new. We just hope that they won't receive fines and fees just because, somehow at one moment, it's in certain sectors and portion of the city. We know that. But again, we hope that the government will understand that, you have to support. And also because we lack of workers, that's also an issue in Montreal, as you know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the students of McGill and Concordia and other university are workers, for those stores, and sometimes they are here to learn French. So we have to be also supportive of that.
Right. Now, you talked about fines. What kind of penalties could a retailer expect if they run afoul of the OQLF?
I won't give numbers because there are so many ways to receive fines regarding protecting French. There's a lot of different fines. Some of them are depending on the kind of problem that you have about signage or the way that you package your products or dispose them in the stores. But what I know is that with the Bill 96, the fines increase immensely with that new bill. So since 3 years, it costs way more for any kind of complaint that you, not a complaint, but when you are guilty of any of those rules, the fines greatly increased. But also the capacity of the OQLF to send people even to enter a store without any kind of awareness and to ask you to open your computers to show that in the back store how things are. So they have new rights to enter stores even at the end of the day when the store is about to close. They have the new capacity that they don't need a mandate to enter the stores. Wow. They can do it by themselves. They have a lot of new capacity now.
I wasn't aware of that. That's really quite disturbing, really, when you think about it, that they could come in and just start going through your computers.
I mean, and again, the problem is not always to comply, but to demonstrate beyond any doubt that everything was, including not only the computer, but the database and the internet and all of that. You have to show that, you have a lot of new rules to comply with since 3 years.
I was mentioning off the top of the show, Michel, that I live in a small off-island town that many consider to be an English town, and it isn't. It's split right down the middle. It's 50-50 Francophone, Anglophone. There are Francophone families that have been there for centuries, and the same goes for some of the Anglophone families that have been there. And I can tell you there's only 5,000, 5,500 people in our town. So if somebody walks in to, a coffee shop, a grocery store, the hardware store, or whatever, the person behind the counter knows right away whether you live there or not, for one thing. So I think these so-called undercover OQLF people will be picked out pretty quickly.
Maybe. Especially if they seem to be observing things, absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you, Michel. You've shed some light on this for us, and I really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thanks to you.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.